Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Time to Level Up podcast. How are you doing today? What's happening? I hope you're having a great day. I'm wearing a very fun shirt that I just got from the Nordstrom anniversary sale, and it's making me feel kind of excited and summery. So I hope you're feeling summery and excited too. So today, what I want to do is I want you to think about something, that a decision that you maybe have been debating for a very long time. And maybe you've made the decision and you've taken the leap, or maybe you haven't. But today's guest is a client of mine, Aileen Paszek, and she had to decide after being at her employer for 19 years and enjoying it, really enjoying it. She made the decision to leave and to start her own business in her 40s. And she started that business about 18 months before she and I met. And we met via a mutual friend. So it was kind of a fun way to meet. And she realized that maybe I could help her. Really, her business was booming. I mean, she had clients. She was profitable, but really take her business to the next level and help her with mindset and systems, so that she could have more freedom, more time freedom, money freedom, brain power freedom. And what's interesting is that what Aileen does is that she is a coach. She coaches people who are in the job market looking for their next opportunity. I'll let her explain that in a better way. So she's a coach. So she's got her own coaching set of skills. Yet she realized that she needed a coach to get her to that next level because she was getting in her own way and wasn't really thinking enough about the what if scenarios. What if I did this? How could I make this possible? Why not? So I hope you enjoy this discussion that I'm having with her. It's really just another example of thinking big. She wasn't thinking small, but she wasn't thinking big enough. She wasn't thinking big enough. So notice that kind of theme throughout our conversation today and see if you can apply some of what she is talking about to yourself. How does what she's talking about apply to you? This is kind of a coaching skill, my friends, taking other people's coaching or other people's experiences and applying it to yourself and using it to help you grow. So sit back, buckle up, and listen in to my conversation with Aileen. Hey, Time to Level Up listeners. Welcome back to the podcast. I am thrilled today to have one of my favorite people that I really haven't known for very long, but I do feel like I have known her for a very long time for some reason, just like that's the way it goes. Aileen, this is my client and friend, Aileen, and I'm just going to have her introduce herself. I think that's just the easiest thing. So let's do it.
Thank you, Andrea. I feel the same way. You know how the universe works sometimes, that all of a sudden you get introduced to someone and you're like, we're really connecting very quickly.
We are. Yes.
So my name is Aileen Paszek, and I live in Northfield, Illinois, which is a small sort of suburban enclave north of Chicago. I live with my husband, Chris, and my 5 children, who range in age from 16 down to 6, and our crazy golden retriever dog. I recently launched, or last year, 2022, my own business. It's called JobLink. And what I do is I support and coach job seekers who are in transition through the tactical pieces of the job search, but also the strategic pieces around mindset and confidence and really connecting to their true purpose.
Yeah, so fun. So it's interesting. So Aileen and I met because, this is a good little story in itself. So I have a friend, Therese, you need to be listening to this. And she said to me, and I see Therese often, and she always said to me, you need to meet my cousin, Aileen. I'm going to connect you. I'm going to do it. So then finally one day she did. And Aileen and I just set up a Zoom call or whatever. Whatever, we had a call. She's like, you need to meet Aileen. She's like I think she actually said, she's a real firecracker like you. So we were just talking and I was telling her what I did. And then all of a sudden Aileen's like, wait, what do you do? Maybe I think we might need this. I think I might need this. So, I mean, you never know what's going to happen when you meet someone. It's so true, right?
Yeah.
So true. All right. So, Aileen's business started, like you said, in 2022. And when we met, I mean, you were going, like it was happening.
Yeah.
It was happening.
It was
Right?
happening. I had my LLC created about, 8 years ago. So I was working at Deloitte at the time, and I decided, as I normally do, that I wanted to do something else on top of my day job. I just wasn't challenged enough.
Nope.
And so I decided to do the job search coaching on the side, very much a side gig. I set up the LLC and I started taking clients just simply through word of mouth referrals. Again, a couple hours a week max. And then I started doing some public speaking at local events that were geared toward career changing and in particular women and so forth. So I did that, but I never really thought about doing it full time. I just always thought, well, I need the benefits. I had the golden handcuffs at Deloitte.
Yes. How many years were the golden handcuffs on?
The golden handcuffs were on for about 19 and a half years.
Yeah.
Long time. I spent the majority of my career at Deloitte, and I must say it was an amazing run. Such a terrific company, and I learned so much while I was there. I always recommend Deloitte to anyone, who is looking at Big Four consulting. But I had always done it, kind of dabbled in it, but I never had I always had that fear of like making the leap into doing something on my own.
Okay. So then you finally did.
Yeah.
What made you do it? What made you do it?
Well, 19 years in at Deloitte, I had sort of maxed out all of the internal, roles that I was transitioning to. The majority of the time I was in talent roles. So I started in talent acquisition and I did recruiting, worked my way up for maybe about 10 years. And then there was a little group at Deloitte called Transition Assistants. And there were only 5 coaches. And it was very unique. And this is one of the things that I tell people in the market. Deloitte is one of the only firms that does this. When they let people go not for cause, certainly, but for, market conditions, let's say, they provide coaching for free for up to a year for each person individually to help them land on their feet. And so I had helped and sort of supported this group when they had an uptick during the last downturn in, 10 years or so ago. And I loved it. I just loved the coaching. I loved helping people kind of navigate the job market. And so I begged, borrowed, and stealed my way into that group because everybody loves working with them. Mm-hmm. And so I finally got a job in that area. And I did it for about 7.5 years, developed all of my skills and tools and relationships there. And then I just felt like I was tapped out. I felt like I was as challenged as I could be in that role. I did it for a while. And I made the decision. It was very difficult, but I made the decision to leave Deloitte. And I went to an HR consulting firm for a short period of time. I tried my hand at consulting. And it was good, but I just kind of made up my mind, like, I just want to be my own boss.
Yeah.
And that was a little over a year ago. And that's when I made the leap.
Okay. So that's interesting because I think people really do get to the place where they just say, I want to be my own boss. Like that is a common theme I hear. There's nothing really wrong, right? Again, it's like nothing's gone wrong. There was nothing wrong with what you were doing, but you just wanted to be your own boss. And that's just the way it is, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So now you're your own boss.
Yes.
Wow. And what has happened since you have become your own boss?
It's been a wild ride in many ways. The hardest part was making the decision to quit my last job and go off on my own because it's so scary. And a lot of the clients that I coach who are in transition that are contemplating entrepreneurship, I tell them my story. I said, it's certainly not an easy decision.
No,
It's very risky, like any entrepreneur would say. But when you get to a point where you want to be your own boss and you have those skills and expertise to really offer value on your own, You just have to
Yes.
take that leap.
You just got to do it, right? You have to think big in the spirit of
Yes.
thinking big, right? You got to think big and take the leap. And I think it's when you do start your own business, it really is a leap. It's not just a baby step. It's a leap. And you honestly don't necessarily, you don't even know what you're leaping into. Like you just, it's just, you don't know what you're going to be leaping into. And even if you have an inkling of maybe what you're going to be jumping into, you don't know how fast those things will actually happen. So I think what's happened to you, you've had the, good problem of growing super fast, right? Super fast. So, all right. So what do you think some of the hardest challenges that you've faced have been over the last, say, 6 months?
I would say over the last 6 months, it's been managing my own time as the CEO of my business. And 6 months ago, I was a team of one, me. And so when you're launching your own business, you kind of take what you can get. At least I did.
Right. Right. Well, that's when you and I met, you were sort of taking what you could get, and you were still a team of one.
I was still a team of one.
Right.
Enter Andrea.
Enter Andrea.
Picture.
Enter Andrea. Stage right.
Stage right.
Yes.
And you challenged me to think big, not to sound too cheesy, but I started to say some of the things that I'm doing are a little bit repetitive. I'm not really energized by them. And then you introduced the novel idea of, well, why don't you outsource them? Or why don't you hire some freelancers who can do that part for you? And in my case, at that point, it was the resume writing, which is a huge part of my business. And I just had been doing it for so long, I could do it in my sleep. It wasn't energizing me, it was draining me. And it also took a lot of time away from the coaching.
Yeah.
And so the biggest thing that happened over the last 6 months is I hired 3 contract resume writers.
That's huge. So see, this is like an example of Aileen is more than capable of doing the resume writing. She can do it in her sleep. So it's easy. It's not hard, but it wasn't filling her up, right? It wasn't filling her up. And it also is something, no matter how easy or hard it is time consuming, right? So it's interesting that a lot of times we just don't see, well, I could hire someone else to do this, but I don't know. I mean, I can still do it. You keep falling back of like, I'm capable. It's not like this is hard for me. I mean, what, right? But what happens, or what have you found now that you've hired 3? So since April, right? You've hired. Yeah. So we're recording this in July. So since April, Aileen's hired 3 resume writers. And what has that allowed you to do? Like, what's been possible?
Oh, it's allowed me a lot more work-life balance just for myself, which is important for me. It's freed up my time for me to focus on the things that I enjoy more, such as the actual interactive coaching with clients.
Right.
And it's allowed me to set up some systems for my business, which I needed. And I've seen really big growth. You think that hiring people, you're worried about the money and the revenue and what you're going to pay them. But I've actually seen more growth because it freed up my time.
So it's interesting. So going back to, like I say, there's your 3 most valuable resources: time, money, brain power, and relationships.
Yeah.
Are a resource, but they're also the things that we want freedom in too. And that you've created by hiring, you've created time freedom, you've created money freedom, you've created brain space freedom. You've actually created more relationship freedom in a sense too, because you're interacting more, or in a way, in a way that you want to interact with your clients, right? So you're enjoying your relationships with your clients more because you're doing what you want to do with them versus just the resume writing. So even though you've spent resources to bring these people on, it's more than paid off. It's more than paid off.
Absolutely. No question. Yeah. And I have a little team, I mean, they're not full-time employees, but we meet a couple, once a week and kind of collaborate and brainstorm. And it's nice to work on a small team.
It's kind of fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kind of fun. So, okay. So tell me about the systems and processes that you've put in place, because you were doing everything when we met originally kind of like every day was a new day. Every email was a new email. Every client was a new client. So Aileen didn't really have templates or processes. I mean, just none of that was there, which is nothing's wrong with that. Okay. Like again, nothing's wrong, but it wasn't freeing. It was time consuming. It sucked the energy out of you.
Yeah. I was trying to keep track of all of my clients either through email, which is ridiculous, or through an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So the two main systems that I've implemented so far are Trello. So I use Trello to manage the resume projects. Trello has been amazing in terms of me communicating with my resume writers, like project management and status and so forth. And then the second key tool for me was Dubsado, which is the CRM tool, which I've still needed a little bit of support getting it. But it's really helped me in particular with invoicing and getting people like to pay on time.
Oh, look at that. Imagine that. Imagine that. How have you restructured your offers? And what like thinking did you have to employ? Or did I encourage you to employ to make that happen? Like, how did you wrangle that?
Really helped me with elevating or increasing, I should say, my pricing. Because when I first started, and again, when you're a new business owner and you're trying to develop new business, you tend to have a scarcity mindset.
Yep.
Like, take what I can get. I just need the business. And it's hard to shift from that scarcity mindset to that, hey, I'm worth it mindset, or my skills and what I offer is this valuable. So you helped me to really level up my pricing. But also think through the way, the way that I offer packages to individuals. And because one recent change for me is with job seekers, I was asking them to pay one flat fee upfront, over a period of time, like 3 months is really the standard. And then I realized that if I got them to do like a monthly payment plan, it was just more digestible. Like people, it's easier for people to think, okay, I only have, I can pay it out over a number of months versus all up front. And it's still the same amount of money.
Right.
So that was helpful.
So it's kind of like, if you think about systems, okay, first Aileen needed to have like a decision-making system in a sense, right? So she started making decisions in a different way. She started making decisions, and maybe I'm wrong, but you started really thinking more, how can I scale this? How can this be sustainable? How do I get what I want out of my business? So that was kind of the framework in which she started to make decisions. And then so that's I call it like a decision-making system. And then you really changed your offer system and how you made offers, what they were, how you were delivering your services. So that system all changed. And then you changed, in a sense, also your sales system, because, you kind of changed that up, how you're doing your consults, how people are coming into your funnel, all of that. So really all of these systems put together and our team system, right?
Yeah.
Our system of who's in our, so all of these systems are what upgraded you or up-leveled you and helped increase time, money, brain power, the space to think. And it's really hard to do that on our own, isn't it? I find it's hard to do it on my own.
Yes, it is. Well, and as a coach, it's imperative for me to also have a coach. It's kind of like, when you're a therapist, you also need your own therapist.
Yes.
Because sometimes you don't necessarily take your own advice. So I think you and all of the folks that are in the mastermind that I've met, we really challenge each other to think bigger and why couldn't this happen?
Right.
Why
couldn't it happen?
Yeah. Why couldn't this happen? Like, what's standing in your way? Identify the obstacle, which is usually our own thought processes or our own thoughts, and the behaviors that are associated with those thoughts. And the other piece is taking action. And I tell my clients that all the time when they're considering their next move professionally, and they have a couple of target jobs or target companies in mind. then they get stuck. They're like, okay, well, I kind of know what I want to do, but then what? And then they go round and round circles in their brain. And I'm like,
Yes.
you don't know what you don't know until you start exploring through talking to people at those target companies or talking to people that are in those target jobs
Right.
and getting the action steps that you need to take to move the needle forward. So many people get to this stuck stress, as you would
Yes.
say.
Yes.
And then once they even take some of those mini action steps, then they feel so much better.
Okay. So it's kind of like having a belief plan and an
Yeah.
action plan and a time plan, which is something I talk about a lot. Like, so what I find so fun about this is that what you're doing in your business as part of JobLink is helping people have bigger belief in themselves that they don't have to stay in this job that they've been in for 19 years, that they
Yes.
can find something that they're more aligned with or feels more exciting to them. So there's like, you're helping them create that belief plan. You're helping
Yeah.
them say, okay, go take these actions, talk to these 5 people, do whatever, right? Like you got to take some action and it doesn't have to last. Talk about time plan. This doesn't have to go on and on for 2 years. Like you
Right.
could find a new role in a very short amount of time if you've got the belief in the action. But
Yeah.
yet when we do this for ourselves, like when you're
Yeah.
trying to do it for you as kind of the new business seeker, right? We get in our own way, right? We get in our own way.
Absolutely get in our own way.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important. You know, we could talk to ourselves all day long and build ourselves up. But for me in particular, and most people, I need that coaching from a third party who can see
Yes.
things from that perspective. It's a game changer.
Yes. So what have you found so Aileen is in my mastermind. So this is a whole group of women business owners who have successful businesses, like who are profitable. They're making money. They're on their way. Most of them have, this isn't their first rodeo. Like they've had some other business in the past. Or what have you found most valuable about being inside that community?
Oh, inside the mastermind community, I think it's just sharing the vulnerabilities and some of the roadblocks with one another and knowing that we're not on our, everybody sort of kind of feels the same things.
Yeah. Variations on a theme.
Yeah, variations on the same theme. And when you coach, and you say this on our meetings and our calls, when you coach one, you're really coaching all of us because
Yes.
typically the themes are consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting to sort of feed off one another on our calls because sometimes people come into the calls really frustrated, upset, stuck, and others are like on a high.
Yep.
And so we can kind of like sort of balance each other out and help one another
Mm-hmm.
on those in the group setting. So I find the group very valuable.
I think it's interesting too, because I always think, at least when I'm in my groups, I almost get more out of listening to other people's trials, tribulations, and then coaching that they're getting more valuable than my own in a sense. Like when I'm getting my own coaching, I feel like I'm much more problem solving kind of oriented. But when I'm listening to other people get coached, it's helping me more even in the mindset piece because you can see what's going through their mind. It's
Mhm.
easier to see what's going through their mind than seeing what's going through your own mind.
Totally. 100%. And you
Yeah.
think, oh, why are they being so down on themselves?
Yes.
You know, why
And you're
are
like,
they
wait a second.
why are they putting the roadblocks up for themselves? And then
Yep.
you're like, oh gosh, I do that to
Yeah.
myself. Even
Yeah.
worse sometimes.
Yep. So,
Yeah.
so it's a combination. I mean, actually for you, if this is like a true kind of in our conversation here, mindset plus systems. I mean, you had to shift your mindset
Mhm.
that not that you were never a big thinker. Like I would never say that about you, but this business, how do I get it to the place I want it to be? That was a shift in mindset.
Yeah.
And then it was a shift in putting more systems in place. And then also, I think you kind of tweaked a little bit of like, who do you want to work with?
Yes.
Right? Who do you want to work with?
Yes. That I got to a point, almost like a pivot point in my own business where I started to, not many, but I started to turn some potential clients away
Yeah.
and say, I'm not the right person for you. And that felt pretty good, because it was true. But also I didn't feel like I was in that vulnerable, desperate position where I just had to do whatever I could.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
That's very helpful.
And the confidence piece of saying, I remember you had one client and you said to me, I really feel like I've done a good job with this. I think I've delivered everything I said I was going to deliver, but yet they're not happy. It seems like, I don't know. And then having the confidence to say to them, hey, this is the deal. This is what's gone on. This is how I can help you further, but not succumbing to their, like not taking on their stress.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
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 So I always say that you have to be calm, cool, collected, confident, but you also have to be compassionate to yourself with yourself and recognize, hey, this doesn't feel right. What can I do to help myself? Right. Because you've had to get a little compassionate with yourself.
Oh, yes. I could get even more compassionate with myself. But I think I've set good boundaries too.
Like you've been working on that. Tell me, all right, tell us about the email at night. What's happened to the email at night?
Oh, so my calendar is only open to clients between about 8 and 3 Central Time. I'm in Chicago. And I set that in stone 9 months or so ago because I found that after 3 p.m., my energy was absolutely sapped. And so it wouldn't have been great for my clients anyway. And plus it gave me the time to, pick up my kids from school, which is really important for me right now at their ages. And then I also really just stopped. If anybody was emailing me after those hours, I just didn't, for the most part, I don't respond. So it's kind of, and plus my clients don't need anything that quickly. So there is that, they're in a job.
But you did think they needed it all quickly.
Yes, that's true. I think in the beginning with that scarcity mindset, I felt like I had to get back to them like that. And now, no, I'm a morning person. So if somebody emails me about something at 7 p.m., let's say, I don't get back to them until the following morning. And quite frankly, I'm much in a better headspace in the morning to give them a better answer to what they're asking for. And that's worked beautifully for me.
So that's another example of thinking bigger and realizing like, what would the future Aileen, who feels calm, cool, collected, confident, compassionate, how would she respond to someone? She wouldn't necessarily rush and respond to them when she's not in the best headspace. She would respond to the next morning, right? But these are all kind of mindset shifts that I see the business owners that are most successful, they make these mindset shifts and they actually put themselves in containers, I'll say, or positions where they get the support to help them do that. Because again, we get stuck in our own heads.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, we're going to wrap up. Aileen, what would you say in 2 sentences? What are some tangible results or differences, changes you have seen since April? What do you think?
April.
Yeah.
Tangible results is I've had the best revenue months since starting my business.
Yay.
I think the first month I worked with you, actually, I like doubled my revenue.
That was awesome.
It was kind of insane. I was like, oh, this is crazy. But so I've been feeling more financially confident now I'm entering year 2 of the business. So that's been huge for me. The second was hiring a small team of people, 3 people to take the resume writing off my plate, which again, something that drained me and took a lot of time. And then the third is, I think I've already in the past couple of months been evolving my business and really planning ahead, working with you on the 3-year plan, the 1-year plan, the 3-year plan, the 10-year plan, and then breaking it down into rocks, quarterly rocks, and even smaller so that I can understand how I'm going to get there. 10 years seems like a long way away.
It does.
Like, what kind of things are you going to set up or think about now in order to get there?
Yeah. What do we need to do now to fuel what we want in the future?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's big thinking too. Yes. I force everybody to think about 10 years from now, which usually what happens is that someone's like, okay, in 10 years from now, I'm going to be X number of years old.
Right.
My kids are going to be this many years old. We might be living in the same house, and then they stop.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. And a lot of people lots of my clients like, maybe I don't even want to be working 10 years from now. And even just admitting that is also tricky.
Yeah.
But what do we need to do now and next year and 3 years from now in order to make that happen? And I think that's really fun thinking. And I mean, I have so loved watching this evolve. Even then I asked Aileen to come on. I mean, we've only been working together for a handful of months, but I've seen so much growth and just her. And it seems like you're enjoying it a lot more too. Enjoying.
I am.
Yes.
I am,
yes,
because
yes.
I'm thinking differently about everything. Thanks to you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. All right. My last question. How do you define, in your words, thinking big?
It's being scared. You're going to, when you think big, at least for me, I think most human beings, our fear is going to come up immediately. Like for me, the tension arises in my body. Like,
yes.
Oh, I can never do that. Or I don't deserve that when you think big. But what I really learned from you is that kind of the world is our oyster. It's just up to us to get over those fears and just do it.
Do it.
Happen is you learn from a couple of missteps or failures, but why not just go for it?
What's your favorite saying? Or what's your favorite Andrea saying? You wrote, you told me, what if, right?
It's like, what if? So when you're listening to me and I'm talking through something like an issue, problem, challenge, whatever it is, you'll be like, what if you did this? And I'm like, wow, you're making it sound so easy, but you're right. Why am I not doing that? Why am I not taking that step? It's fear.
It's fear. It's usually fear getting in the way, but we're pushing past that or through it. And it's always going to be there. Fear's always going to be there. It's not going away, but it's learning how to be almost like I picture sometimes those, like when there's the paper, like there's paper covering a door opening and you have to break through it, just push through it and just like getting better at not thinking about it so much, not.
The true value of having a coach is that person like almost like pulls you through the door.
Yeah. Well, that's what you're doing, right? Like that's what you're doing with your clients. Exactly.
And sometimes you just need that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this has been super fun. Thank you for coming on the Time to Level Up podcast. I've loved having you.
Thank you, Andrea. I've loved being here.
And what if people want to find you? Where are they going to find you? And we're going to put all the links in the show notes, but where are they going to find you?
I mean, the easiest way to find me is through my website, which is www.joblinklllc.com. So that's JOBLINKLLC.com. And
go follow Aileen on LinkedIn. She is an excellent example of LinkedIn goodness. So I'm going to put that plug in there too.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks so much.
All right, Andrea. Thank you.
So what if your results changed like Aileen's? What if you doubled your income? What if you brought on a team? What if you recognized that really anything was possible? All of that is available to you, my friends. All of it's out there. It's just as available as it is to Aileen. And, Aileen and I met kind of just through a friend. Like when we first started talking to each other, I was definitely not thinking like, oh, this woman could be a potential client. It was not in my brain at all. But things happen and things happen for a reason. So what if you listening to this podcast is happening for a reason? What if you listening to this podcast is a tool for which you to realize what's possible for you? What if you listening to this podcast is a sign that you need to think bigger? If it's any of those things that I just mentioned, please reach out. Please schedule a call with me. The call in and of itself, I always like to say, is worth $10,000, right? It's a call where I can help you start to think this way, start to see what's going on. And if we end up working together, great. If we don't, I'll still love you. No skin off my back or yours, but it's worth it. It's worth having someone else out there to help you explore what's going on in your brain, whether that's just for a half an hour or ongoing, it doesn't matter. It's worth it. So reach out, DM me, or go to the links in the show notes, or go to linkswithans.com and book a call. And if you haven't gotten on the She Thinks Big thethinkbigthebook.com. If you haven't gone to shethinksbigthebook.com and gotten on the Think Big launch list, you need to go there because you can start reading She Thinks Big right now. And you can also get yourself ready for a whole other slew of amazingness that's coming your way with the book launch. All right, my friends, I will see you next week. Remember, now is your time to level up. If it's not now, when is it? What are you waiting for? Let's do this. See you soon.